Screech. The tires of the black SUV screamed against the gravel road as it skidded to an abrupt stop in the middle of the thick, silent woods. The scent of pine and damp earth filled the air. The trees loomed tall and close, like silent sentinels watching from the shadows. Inside the car, Carla jolted forward in her seat, clutching the armrest in surprise. Her cane rattled against the floorboard. The sudden stop had shaken her to the core, not just physically, but emotionally. "Eric?" she asked, confused, her voice shaking slightly. "Where are we? What is this place?" Her husband said nothing. He didn't even glance her way. Instead, he opened his door, stepped out into the crunching leaves, and walked around to the passenger side. The cold air rushed in as he flung open her door. "What are you doing?" Carla asked, panic creeping into her voice. Eric leaned in and reached for her seatbelt. She instinctively pulled back, but he unbuckled it swiftly and reached for her arm. "I'm helping you out," he said bluntly. "Helping me?" "Eric, I don't understand." Her eyes darted nervously. "My legs. I can't." "I said get out, Carla." The words were stone. Cold. Unrecognizable. Carla clutched her cane, but her hands trembled. She tried to shift her legs to the side, but they wouldn't cooperate. The accident last year had left her partially paralyzed, and walking was now a fragile dance of balance and hope. Eric's jaw tightened. "I've done everything for you, Carla. Took care of you. Sacrificed my freedom. My career. But this," he waved vaguely at her legs. "This is not the life I signed up for." Her heart cracked like glass. "I didn't marry a burden. I want someone whole. Not this." The final word stung like acid. Before she could respond, he grabbed her arm and guided her out, firm, but not violent. Carla stumbled as her cane caught on a root. She fell hard onto the cold forest floor, a cry escaping her lips as her body landed awkwardly. "Eric," she shouted, trying to reach for the door. But he was already walking away. He climbed back into the car without a word. The engine roared back to life. The taillights flared red. "Eric, please." But her cries were swallowed by the woods. The SUV sped off, tires crunching against gravel until the sound faded into silence. Carla was alone. The stillness settled like a blanket. The air was sharp and heavy with dread. But what she didn't know, what Eric hadn't seen, was that someone else was there. Just beyond the tree line, hidden in shadow, a figure stood watching. A man. Silent. Still. His eyes locked on Carla. His jaw clenched, fists tightening at his sides. Because what Eric had just done wasn't just cruel. It was a mistake. The silence of the woods was deafening. Carla lay crumpled near a gnarled tree root, her fingers clenched around her cane. The forest floor was damp and cold beneath her, and every inch of her body ached, not just from the fall, but from the realization that Eric had truly left her, abandoned her like trash in the middle of nowhere. She fumbled for her phone with shaking hands. "Please, please," she whispered, praying for a signal. No bars. Just the cruel mockery of a blank screen and the endless stretch of trees around her. Her breath caught in her throat as panic threatened to crush her. Her mind raced. Would anyone ever find her out here? How far were they from the main road? How long would it take before someone noticed she was missing? Hours. Days. A twig snapped. Her body tensed. Carla froze, trying to stay quiet, her breath catching. Then, soft, deliberate footsteps. Getting closer. Her heart pounded. "Who's there?" she cried, trying to sound strong, but it came out more like a sob. "Show yourself." The footsteps stopped just a few feet away. Then, from behind the trees, a man stepped into view. He looked to be in his early 50s, rugged but calm. Tall, with streaks of gray in his beard and steady eyes that carried the weight of someone who'd seen too much. He wore a dark green jacket and held his hands up, palms forward. "Don't be afraid," he said gently. "I'm not here to hurt you." Carla's fingers gripped her cane tighter. "Stay back. I don't know you." "I understand," he said. "But I saw what just happened. I've been watching him for days." Her eyes narrowed. "Watching who?" "Your husband," the man said. "He's been coming here. Driving to the same spot. Leaving the engine running. Practicing. It wasn't random. He planned this." Carla's throat tightened. She didn't want to believe it. But deep down she knew. The way Eric had been distant. Short-tempered. Absent. "Who are you?" she whispered. The man knelt slowly so he wouldn't startle her. "Name's Jonah. I live out here. Off-grid. I don't usually get involved in other people's messes." But what he just did. Jonah's eyes darkened. That crossed a line. Tears streamed down Carla's cheeks. Why didn't you stop him? Jonah looked at her with quiet regret. Because I needed to be sure. Now, I can help you. Not just get back on your feet, but get justice. Carla stared at him, unsure whether to trust him or not. He seemed genuine, but she'd been fooled before. Why would you help me? Jonah's voice softened. Because someone I loved was abandoned, too. My wife. When she got sick, her family left her to die alone. I couldn't stop it then, but maybe I can make a difference now. For the first time, Carla felt something break through the fear, something fragile, but real. Hope. Jonah stood slowly and extended a hand. Come on, he said. Let's get you somewhere safe. And for reasons she couldn't explain, Carla reached up and took it. The walk was slow. Jonah moved with quiet strength, carefully carrying Carla in his arms through the forest. She protested at first, embarrassed, but her legs refused to cooperate, and he insisted gently. This is survival, not pride, he said. Let's get you warm. The woods were thick, their branches forming a natural canopy that muted the moonlight. But Jonah moved with ease, like he knew every inch of this terrain. Carla rested her head lightly against his shoulder, still trembling. The air was cold, and the shock of it all hadn't worn off. Finally, after what felt like forever, a cabin appeared in the clearing. It wasn't large, just a single-story wooden home built from thick logs. Smoke curled from a stone chimney, and a faint golden glow lit up the curtained windows. A sturdy porch ran along the front, with a wind chime gently clinking in the breeze. Jonah pushed open the door and stepped inside. Carla blinked in surprise. The cabin was simple but cozy. A stone fireplace crackled with warmth. Shelves lined the walls, filled with books, hand-drawn maps, and stacks of old journals. On a nearby table sat several cameras, binoculars, and memory cards, all neatly labeled. He laid her gently on a soft couch, then draped a wool blanket over her legs. The cushions sank beneath her weight like they'd been waiting just for her. I'll get you something warm, Jonah said, already moving toward the small kitchen tucked in the corner. Moments later, he returned with a bowl of steaming soup and a cup of hot tea. Carla took it with shaky hands. Thank you, she whispered. Jonah sat nearby, not too close, but not distant either. I didn't always live out here, he said after a while. Used to be a systems engineer. Had a wife. Lived in the city. What happened? Carla asked softly. He stared into the fire for a moment. Cancer. Her family, good church folk, or so they claimed, thought she was a burden. When she needed them most, they left her alone in a hospital. She died thinking she was unwanted. Carla felt a lump rise in her throat. She understood that feeling, being discarded. I couldn't save her, Jonah continued. But I swore if I ever saw something like that again, I'd act. He stood and reached for a box on one of the shelves, then set it in front of her. Inside were photos, clear surveillance shots of Eric. Laughing, holding hands with another woman, kissing her in broad daylight. Hotel receipts. A timeline. Carla stared at the images, her stomach churning. He didn't just move on, Jonah said, his voice steady. He replaced you. He's been preparing for this day. Carla swallowed hard. A tear slipped down her cheek, but her expression was no longer just broken. It was shifting into something harder. Stronger. I'm done crying, she said. Jonah nodded once. Then let's expose him, she continued. Not just for me, but for anyone he's ever lied to. He met her gaze. Then we start now. Carla sat in Jonah's cabin, her fingers trembling slightly as she adjusted the knit blanket over her legs. The fire crackled nearby, casting a warm glow across the room, but her mind was racing far faster than her heartbeat. Rage simmered beneath the surface, fueled by betrayal, by humiliation, and by the chilling memory of Eric's words. I didn't marry a burden. Jonah set a tripod in front of her and mounted a camera, adjusting the focus. You sure you want to do this? He asked gently. Carla met his eyes. They were tired, yes, but steady, resolute. I'm sure, she replied. He left me for dead. And now, I want the world to see what kind of man he really is. Jonah hit the record button. Carla took a deep breath and began to speak. Her voice was raw but steady. She told the world her story, how the accident had left her partially paralyzed, how Eric had become more distant, and how love slowly eroded into cold contempt. And then she described what he did that night, driving her deep into the woods, telling her she was a burden, and leaving her. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just told the truth. I'm not sharing this for sympathy, she said at the end, looking straight into the camera. I'm sharing it because someone out there is being made to feel like they are less. Like they are unlovable because of an injury, an illness, or anything they didn't choose. I want them to know, it's not them. It's the people who leave. Jonah uploaded the video anonymously to several platforms with the title, "Disabled Woman Left to Die by Her Husband. She Survived." But he didn't stop there. From one of his many trail cameras hidden in the woods, Jonah retrieved dashcam-style footage. It clearly showed Eric pulling the SUV into the forest, walking around to Carla's side, and pushing her out. It captured her fall, her pleas, and his cold silence as he drove away. Jonah posted that clip alongside the video. The response was instant. Within hours, the story exploded. People shared the video on every platform. Hashtags like #JusticeForCarla and #DumpeddButNotDefeated trended worldwide. News stations picked up the footage. Influencers posted reactions, many in tears. But the internet wasn't done. A viewer recognized Eric's face and tagged the real estate company he worked for. The company issued a statement that same evening. Eric Daniels has been terminated, effective immediately. By morning, more photos of Eric and his mistress surfaced online. She, too, faced backlash and quickly distanced herself, calling him a liar who'd claimed to be widowed. Police opened an investigation. The district attorney's office released a statement calling the incident potentially criminal abandonment with malicious intent. They subpoenaed the video evidence. But Carla didn't gloat. She didn't post celebratory updates. Instead, she stayed at the cabin, healing, planning, focused. Because for her, it was never about revenge. It was about reclaiming her voice and preparing for what came next. 3 weeks later, the community center was buzzing with quiet anticipation. Folding chairs filled the room, and soft chatter echoed off the wood-paneled walls. The event was titled Rising Strong, Voices of Survivors, and the audience was filled with people who had come to hear stories of survival, hope, and healing. Backstage, Carla gripped the edge of the podium with both hands. Her legs, still recovering, still unpredictable, trembled beneath her braces. The cane beside her was more than a walking aid now. It was a symbol of pain, of perseverance, of power. Jonah stood beside her, adjusting the mic and giving her a reassuring nod. "You don't have to prove anything," he whispered. "I'm not proving anything," Carla said softly. "I'm reclaiming everything." The MC called her name. Applause filled the room. Carla took a deep breath. And then she walked. The room hushed. Every step she took echoed louder than thunder. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't fast. But it was hers. When she reached the podium, she paused, just long enough for the silence to swell. Then she began. "I was left in the woods like garbage," she said, voice clear and strong. "My husband, someone who vowed to love me, decided that I was too broken to be worth keeping. He drove me into the forest, looked me in the eye, and told me I was a burden." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Carla held their gaze. "But I didn't die in that forest. I didn't give up. Because someone saw me. Someone reminded me that I still had worth, even when I couldn't see it myself." She smiled, thinking of Jonah. "I'm not here today because I got revenge. I'm here because I chose to rise. For every woman who's been told she's too weak, too slow, too broken, I want you to know, your story isn't over. Not even close." Tears welled in the eyes of many in the audience. Some clutched tissues. Others held hands. Carla continued, voice steady. "I'm starting a foundation, Rising Rooted, to help abandoned and abused women regain their independence. Physical therapy, legal aid, housing, whatever it takes. Because no one deserves to be discarded." The applause was instant. Loud. Emotional. At the back of the room, Jonah stood quietly, arms crossed over his chest, a small smile playing on his lips. He didn't need the spotlight. Watching Carla reclaim hers was enough. After the event, she walked over to him slowly, weaving through the crowd of supporters and strangers who now looked at her with admiration, not pity. "You saved me," she said. Jonah shook his head. "No," he replied. "I just gave you a light. You saved yourself." Carla nodded, eyes shining. Because now she understood. The worst day of her life hadn't destroyed her. It had cracked her open and let something stronger shine through. She didn't just survive. She stood, and she would never let anyone make her feel small again.